Committee. As always, if you want to be heard on one of the bills, we have sign-up sheets up here on the front. Please come and sign up. I'm going to ask Senator Parent if you'd like to open us up in a word of prayer. Which mic are you? Six.
Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, please be with us on this afternoon. We have so much good being done in this building, but so many issues flying around, and we certainly need your wisdom and guidance over the next 2 weeks as we barrel towards the end of the session. Please be with us as we try to make firm and just and wise decisions for the people of the state of Georgia. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you for that. There's one change to the agenda. The first bill, House Bill 554, the request of the author, that's coming off the agenda. We're still working on that bill. It should reappear at one of the next hearings. For the committee's sake, we have a hearing scheduled for 2 o'clock on Thursday. Is that right, Sky? 2 o'clock on Thursday. Then we'll have our usual scheduled times for Monday at 2 o'clock and Tuesday at 4 o'clock. We have 3 hearings remaining for the bills we have to hear. So we're going to start. There's somebody that needs to get out of here. He's got a lot of work to do in the House. House Bill 1388. Chairman Burchett, where are you? Come on up. So if you'll turn, we'll go back to the agenda after this to House Bill 1388. It's LC 442017S. How are you?
Very good.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, am I on here?
You are.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and esteemed committee members. I bring before you House Bill 1388. Also wanted to let the chairman know that he left his gavel in my room just recently, and I was looking for my Thor hammer back. Do you have that? All right. Well, I'll have to make a trip to your office. So, House Bill 1388. This is a piece of legislation that is in response to an issue that is impacting our legal organs. In my district, we had a legal organ, 100-year-old paper that just shut its doors on a Saturday without any notice or anything. So, you can imagine the hysteria around the legal community and the county. One, not having the news, but secondly, not being capable of running those required legal notices. The problem that I saw with the current code, it was so tightly and narrowly tailored that it only allowed for a newspaper to act as the legal organ, a paid for newspaper to act as a legal organ. And in our circumstance, there was the only paper that would qualify under the current code was a newspaper that circulated in a county over, that would not circulated at all in our county, which doesn't go to the intent of legal notice, right? Nobody's getting the legal notice if a newspaper a county over is getting the legal organ. There was a free paper that was distributed 7 counties wide, but because it was free and because it was more than 75% advertising, it didn't qualify under the current code. So what this legislation does is sort of broaden the ability to become a legal organ. On the changes that we made, we allowed for a sort of intermediate legal organ in the event that your legal organ goes out of business or shuts its door. And so since then, I've spoken with the newspapers, and they're in support of this legislation. There have been 10 others in the state that have just shut their doors. The legal organ has shut their doors. Many people are moving to online news, and so newspapers have, have declining subscriptions. What we did is change we exempted the requirement of, one, the advertisement. So a newspaper doesn't have to be less than 75% advertising to be capable of being the legal organ. And we also exempted the paid requirement so that it doesn't have to have a paid subscription. So that opened up, so to speak, this code section to allow for a different type of media to be used as a legal organ. We also provided that we changed a sort of give and take here. We've allowed for 100 copies per issue as the requirement for a newspaper to become the legal organ, where it was 500 currently it is 500. So that's the gist of the bill. If I've adequately confused you, please ask me questions.
One question I have on line 18, this probably would never come up, but if you have the judge of the probate court, the sheriff, the clerk of superior court, or majority of these officers designating this, what if there's a disagreement and the judge of the probate court says one thing? I mean, who trumps who if it says or? What was your thoughts on that language?
That's current language in the code, but this also added to this provision. So I don't know. Line 18, you're saying the clerk of superior court or a majority of these three officers may designate. So the judge of the probate court, the sheriff, the clerk of superior court, or a majority. I think the majority would trump if one says one and one says another. So if as I'm reading this, Mr. Chairman, in the event that no otherwise qualified journal or newspaper has a paid circulation of at least 100 copies per issue in the county, the judge of the probate court, the sheriff, or the clerk of superior court, or a majority of these officers may designate a newspaper. So if the probate court says they want newspaper A and the sheriff says they want newspaper B, then the superior court, the clerk would be if she sided with one or the other, would be the majority vote there. Does that sound right to you, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, I don't know if Ledge Council has any thoughts on that. I mean, it probably would not be an issue. I just didn't know what your intent was with that language.
This tracks the language that's in the current provisions of the code.
Mr. Walker, do you have any thoughts? No thoughts? Okay. Any questions from the committee? If they start fighting each other, we'll fix it. We'll come back and fix it later, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you want to, I'm open to any amendments that the committee would provide. I'm not married to this language about the designating officers. That language, though, is currently in the code. The way I read it, though, that there could be a disagreement between the probate court judge, the sheriff, or the superior court clerk, but one of them would make an alliance, and that would be the deciding factor.
Any questions from the committee? Now would be the appropriate time. We have a motion to pass by Senator Watson. We have a second by Senator Kirkpatrick. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. All those in favor of the motion? All right, it passed unanimously. That's lobbying. I got them on your side. They weren't with you.
Thank you.
Who's going to carry the bill in the Senate?
I haven't got that figured out yet, Mr. Chairman.
If you want to figure it out, let me know.
Yes, sir, I will.
Before you go, you have my gavel there.
Yeah.
You see on the Senate side, you may approach. Okay. On the Senate side, thank you. I didn't even know I even had this. I guess it fell in my pocket. We don't really have to have a gavel. I think it's just the nature of being a senator. It kind of speaks for itself. But on your side, you did a good job in committee today, by the way. And the first bill you heard was a good bill. You moved how many bills out today?
2 out of 3.
2 out of 3. Yeah, one of them probably wasn't very good, so that's fine. But to help you down the road to make sure you can compete with frustration as well, I'm going to give you this. And I suggest just walking the halls with this, and you probably get a little bit more done, probably.
May I approach the bench?
Yeah, please.
Oh, yeah.
You want this one back too?
No, that's yours.
Oh, really? Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening. All right. I know. That makes some noise. It does make more noise than I thought. All right, now we're all thrown off. Let's get back to acting like the Judiciary Committee, not the Rules Committee. Back to the top of the agenda, House Bill 1183. Representative Gunter. We are working off of LC 480537S. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. House Bill 1183 is a bill that changes the code sections regarding criminal bonds. Basically what it does is it adds a little time for the bondsman to retrieve the fugitive and bring him back to court. It gives him incentive to do that. And then in the latter parts of it, that's the incentive part of it. I can go into a lot more detail on this, but that's the gist of the bill. It gives more incentive and more time for the surety to bring back the fugitive. That's basically what it does.
All right. Any questions from the committee for the author? All right. You have a question. Are you trying to make a motion already? Okay. Question, Senator Watson.
So how often do they have to forfeit the bond? How often does that happen?
Honestly, in my time, I can't remember one being forfeited.
Really? Wow.
Unless it's somebody that's not in the profession, like a family member, they might lose their property or so.
Okay.
But basically, if you look at it, from the time the bench warrant is asked for to the time where they apply for the refund of the bond is nearly a year to go back and get somebody. So if they can find them in another jail or out of state, they got that 1 year time where they can get most of their money back. And it actually really extends into a 2-year period where they can get 50% of it back.
At the appropriate time.
Are any other questions from the committee? There's no one that signed it to be heard on the bill. What's the pleasure of the committee?
Do pass.
Motion to pass by Senator Watson. Is there a second? Second by Senator Kirkpatrick. The doctors are eager. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. It is also unanimous.
Great.
All right,
Thank
Mr.
you very
Chairman.
much.
And I believe, who's going to carry this bill in the?
I've asked Senator Hatchett to carry it.
Senator Hatchett, all right. And that's all you have on the agenda, that's right, because the other one we'll
All right.
work on later. Okay,
Okay,
thank you,
thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
The next bill on the agenda is House Bill 464, Representative Scoggins. And we are working off LC 412891. And remind us, is this one that we heard last year?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, committee members, graciously passed out last year, and this is a bill that deals with probate courts and juvenile court judges. This will allow a probate judge to transfer a temporary guardianship of a minor to juvenile court. The way the law is now, the law says the probate court shall grant the order. This will allow the probate judge to transfer to juvenile court if he feels it's not in the best interest of the minor child. And where the juvenile court has the arm of DFACS to do home studies and that type of stuff, the probate court doesn't have that. So same bill that passed out of the House, 163-7. So
Yeah, I heard from probate court judge that mentioned not having the ability to do what a juvenile court does with DFACS and really dive
Exactly.
into some of these cases that was supportive of the bill.
yes, sir.
All right, any questions from the committee? There's no one that signed up to speak on the bill. What's the pleasure of the committee? We have a motion to pass by Senator Parent. We have a second by Senator Jones. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. It also carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
And this can be carried by Chairman Mullis, is that right?
Chairman Mullis, yes.
All right,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Thought he retired today, it seemed like. Is he still with us? Okay. All right, moving down the agenda, next bill is House Bill 624. Chairman Taylor, how are you? We're working off LC 441848S.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Today I bring a discussion about the South Georgia Judicial Circuit. It consists of 5 counties in rural South Georgia. It's Baker, Calhoun, Decatur, Grady, and Mitchell counties. The circuit there has 2 Superior Court judges. The last time a new Superior Court judge was added to this circuit was in 1978. Our beloved dogs have had 2 championships since then, so we really do need some help. We are currently ranked number 1 in need of a new judgeship by the Judicial Workload Assessment Committee and the Judicial Council. According to the latest assessment, each judge of our circuit does a comparable work of 1.8 Superior Court judges throughout the state. So this is really needed. I would appreciate your favorable consideration. Be happy to answer any questions.
So we've done these, the other 2 we did this year. I thought we had them effective January 1st of next year. Your bill has it as July 1st of this year.
Because they put it in the budget. We tried to do this last year and there was no money, so they put it in the budget for this year. That's why.
And so the budget as presented now has funding starting July 1st
Correct.
for the position. Question from Senator Cowsert.
Curious to know how the population of that circuit has changed in that 40-year period.
It has gone down a little bit, but not much. We've had some growth early on. Now it went down this past census. It's gone down a little bit. It didn't grow by 10%. It grew by 4%.
So I can't fathom then why the caseload has increased if the population's decreased unless they're just gotten very litigious down there.
It's been a long time. It's just the spread of time and more crime. And in 44 years, the population has grown. That's what I'm getting at.
Oh, that's what I asked and you said no. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I misunderstood.
All right,
okay,
that's fine.
That's it.
Well, so has the population gone up 4%? Is that what you were saying?
It's actually gone down. They've lost about 4% in that area. In my counties that are in that region. It's a very rural area, and there has been not as much growth as there should be. We wish the rest of the state has, but over 44 years, they still have crime like everybody else, and just haven't had any assistance in the judgeships.
Okay. So then that's my question. If the population has decreased, has the caseload or the workload for the judges increased? It would
Yes, it
seem like
has.
it would correspondingly go down.
No, it didn't. It has gone up like everybody else. Crime has increased even in rural South Georgia. We have had an increase like everybody else. Recently, I know they're using COVID and everything else you can think of, but our caseload has not gone down, and it is a poverty area, and that affects it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Hatchett.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, where does this rank on the Judicial Workload Assessments Committee's list of
It's the one
circuits
in number
need?
1 need.
Number 1?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? All right, there's no one that signed up to speak on the bill. What's the pleasure of the committee? Motion to pass by Senator Hatchett. We have a second by Senator Kirkpatrick. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. It is unanimous.
Thank you. I
And who is
appreciate it.
carrying this bill in the Senate?
Kennedy, Senator Kennedy.
Senator Kennedy. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving so quickly, it's time to slow down a little bit. Let's see. Representative Crow, House Bill 895. You like that segue?
I did.
Uh-huh.
I did. Thank you.
We are working off of LC 490858S.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is House Bill 895. It was brought to us by the GBI. Currently, sworn law enforcement officers are not required to provide their home address, personal information, personal phone number, home number, if they are a witness in a prosecution. That same consideration is not given to non-sworn law enforcement personnel of law enforcement agencies. That would be your crime scene technicians, crime lab scientists, and that sort of thing. This bill would seek to remedy that. So folks that are testifying on behalf of the prosecution as part of their job in a criminal case will be able to use their work address of their agency, and that phone number is a contact to give to the defense.
So it doesn't in any way limit the ability to reach the witness. It just changes, lets them use the former office in essence. Is that what you're saying?
It does, yes, sir. And through this process in the first committee hearing, there was some conversation between myself and the Gactel and Prosecuting Attorneys Council, and we reworked the language some. That's how we came up with a committee substitute that kind of answers some of the concerns that they had, and so they are on board with us now.
All right. Any questions from the committee? Senator Hatchett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just wondering, like, what prompted this to begin with? What's the policy behind this that would make this, I guess, a useful tool?
Well, so you have a lot of GBI employees that are crime lab scientists that are testifying for DNA evidence, fingerprint evidence, things like that. And they had to give their personal home address and their personal home phone number on the witness list to the defense. I don't know that there was an incident that prompted that to be addressed. The folks from GBI may can answer that better. But, you know, obviously just looking at it, it's not a good practice for them to have to give out their personal information. But if you wanted to have them, I could ask them to come speak on it.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I can follow up. Now, I assumed it was a security or issue with those witnesses, and if that's the case, I just wanted some clarity to make sure that's why we were doing it.
Yes, sir. There's I don't know if there was a specific incident that happened. I think the concern was, though, that they might be targeted for intimidation or possible threats by virtue of their being listed as a witness in that case, and if they could be forced to not testify, it would definitely harm the prosecution's case against the defendant. So I think that was the impetus behind it. And I think they may have had a couple of incidents where some of their crime scene technicians or scientists were contacted and possibly threatened. So
I got you. Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? There's no one else that's signed up to speak on the bill. What's the pleasure of the committee? Motion to pass by Senator Jones. Is there a second? Second by Senator Cowsert. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. It passed unanimously. Who's going to carry the bill in the Senate?
Senator Albers.
Albers. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Next bill on the agenda is House Bill 1390. Representative Nolowich. We are working off LC 442079 ERS. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. It is good to see everyone. I am here today to present House Bill 1390, and it passed the House unanimously on crossover day. It passed the House Judiciary Committee unanimously. This bill is bipartisan. It is the result of a tremendous amount of bipartisan collaboration, and it would give city, county, and consolidated government employees a right of action against their employer if they are retaliated against in their workplace after they make a claim of or report sexual harassment happening in their workplace. This bill has the full support of GMA and the ACCG, and I ask for your favorable consideration this afternoon.
All right. Questions from the committee. Senator Kirkpatrick.
Yeah. Thank you, Representative Nolowitz. You've explained this to me once before, but could you just review why this is an ERS on the bill number?
Yes, this is an ERS because I have a file that's about this thick that I did not bring with me because it causes joint pain. But we had many, many, many hours of meetings. So there were actually two bills that I had similar to this that I worked on with Chairman Abstration and worked on with many of my colleagues, and there was House Bill 1389 and House Bill 1390. House Bill 1389 is a bill that is going to continue to be worked on. It gives these protections and more to all workers in Georgia. That bill still needs a little more work, but there was a period of time when in the House Judiciary Committee, the bills were combined into a substitute for 1390. In those conversations, we had various iterations of the language that we were working on that was specific to the city, county, and consolidated government language. And we got to a point in the conversation where I literally took our handwritten notes and typed notes, particularly from working with the legal counsel for the Georgia Municipal Association. I took those notes, typed them into an email, sent them to legislative counsel, and that is why there's an ERS.
Follow up.
Mm-hmm.
So your intention is for this to apply to government, which should logically be held to a higher standard, right?
Absolutely. And state employees actually have these protections, but city, county, and municipal government employees do not have these protections right now.
All right, any other questions from the committee? There are some people that want to be heard on the bill. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We have Elaine Hudson from YMCA of Greater Atlanta. YWCA, sorry. YWCA, big difference, of Greater Atlanta. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Chairman Strickland, and thank you, committee members. My name is Elaine Hudson, and I am the Director of Advocacy at the YWCA of Greater Atlanta, where our mission is to improve the lives of women and girls in Georgia. As a member of the Respect Georgia Workers Alliance, I would like to express our support of HB 1390. Sexual harassment is widespread, and it stands in the way of workers' equal opportunity, economic stability, and the right to live with dignity. Sexual harassment at work makes its target, the overwhelming majority of whom are women, feel unsafe, unwelcome, and it interferes with their ability to be productive and successful members of society. Sexual harassment and employers failing to address harassment or retaliating against its victims contribute to women and girls being pushed out of their jobs, and it can lead to women to avoid work or leave a profession altogether. This has an adverse effect on the economic stability of a community, as women who make up 50% of the workforce will be less likely and less able to contribute if they are not able to make their full earning potential. However, people will not speak up to report harassment if they feel they will be retaliated against. Gaps in state law have left many of those most vulnerable to sexual harassment without meaningful legal protections. Instead, the survivor suffers retaliation for reporting harassment and is pushed out of work. 1 in 3 women alleging sexual harassment also alleged retaliation in a 2018 study by the EEOC. Moreover, women are more likely to hold county and city jobs. We are teachers, we are public safety officers, we are sanitation workers, we are first responders. All professions we have come to rely on more during COVID-19. HB 1390 makes Georgia safer not only for women, but for all workers. On behalf of Respect Georgia Workers Alliance, I ask you to support this bill.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Hudson, any questions for her? All right, thank you. Next we have Allison Glass, 9 to 5 GA. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Chairman Strickland and the committee, for taking time to hear testimony on HB 1390. My name is Allison Glass. I am the policy manager for 9 to 5, National Association for Working Women's Georgia Chapter. 9 to 5 is a national membership organization dedicated to achieving economic security for women and their families. And our base includes over 4,000 people across the state of Georgia. I'm pleased to speak on behalf of our organization in support of HB 1390, as well as on behalf of the 15 Georgia-based organizations that make up the Respect Georgia Workers Alliance. This bill is an important first step in preventing and combating workplace sexual harassment and retaliation in Georgia. Workplace harassment is a widespread problem affecting workers in every state, in every kind of workplace setting in industry, and at every level of employment. Retaliation in response to harassment claims is also pervasive, with almost 72% of harassment survivors reporting that they've also experienced retaliation, according to a National Women's Law Center analysis of recent EEOC charges. HB 1390 will help ensure that city and county employers do not retaliate against employees who complain of sexual harassment. The bill also helps ensure that employees have standard legal options when they do face harassment, while also promoting prevention. This is an important step towards the more comprehensive state-level worker protections we need in Georgia. Thank you so much for standing with workers by supporting HB 1390.
All right, thank you, Ms. Glass. Any questions from the committee for? All right, thank you. Next we have Charlotte, is it Davis?
It is.
Okay.
Brought a colleague.
It said plus, so what threw me off is the plus like a T, and Todd Edwards.
Davis
plus. It's Todd.
It's like Davis. With GMA and ACCG together.
Exactly.
Is this the last time tonight we're going to see you together? Or one of two?
Hopefully not.
Okay.
Not even the last time in your committee today.
That's right. That's right. That's what I meant. Okay.
Thanks, Chairman Strickland, members of the committee. I'm Charlotte Davis with the Georgia Municipal Association. Really appreciate the opportunity to express our support on House Bill 1390. Both of our organizations worked really closely with the bill sponsor in the House and with the House Judiciary Committee, and our associations are in full support. And just to clarify, and particularly to your question, Senator Kirkpatrick, about this applying to local government employees, we do believe that our employees should be held to a higher standard, and that was the thought in tying it to the whistleblower protection statute that's already in code that has a retaliatory process set out now. And we're just codifying that any employee that experiences and reports sexual harassment will be protected under that existing statute and have all the relief that is afforded through that existing statute as well. And I'll be happy to take any questions or if Todd has other comments.
I'll just state it briefly, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Todd Edwards with the Association of County Commissioners. I want to thank Representative Nolowitz for taking into consideration our numerous recommendations for enhancing the bill. We'll work very closely, her and our attorneys, for many hours on perfecting this bill, and we appreciate being given the opportunity. We do support the bill and urge your favorable consideration. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions for Ms. Davis or Mr. Edwards? All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
That's everyone that signed up to speak on the bill. What's the pleasure of the committee? Senator Kirkpatrick.
Move to pass.
We have a motion to pass by Senator Kirkpatrick. Do we have a second? Have a second by Senator Parent. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. It carries unanimously. Who's going to carry it in the Senate?
Senator Parent has agreed to carry this.
Senator Parent. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Before we get to our last bill, one thing I didn't recognize, our judge of the day, Judge Burke guy, come up for a second. You know, I don't know if there's any authority for this at all, but you've been so good coming up all year, visiting with us and helping us with the committee and just being up here every time we meet. Every time you can make it, you come up here. And I just thought it would be important to go out of my way and give you a little award, recognize you from the committee. So I'm going to name you the Senate Judiciary Committee Judge of the Year, and there's your award. Gavel. Now get back to St. Mary's at some point and keep people under control down there. And Chairman Burchett may want that back as well. I don't know, but he'll take it up with you. All right, last bill on the agenda is House Bill 1461. Representative Anderson, if you want to come up. We're working off a committee substitute, which is LC 490969S. Is this your first bill? Or was it your first bill?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
First bill in this committee, though.
First bill in this committee, that's
Yep.
correct. And don't know if I can follow up the award you just presented.
Right.
So I will bring you a momentous bill. It may possibly be the only annexation bill that makes substantive procedural changes to come through this the Capitol with unanimous support and from ACC, GMA, and unanimous votes on the House side from both committees and the House floor. House Bill 1461 is a result of a study committee that the House approved last session to study annexation and cityhood issues, and our focus on annexation was primarily looking at the dispute resolution process. This bill, as I say, makes procedural changes or improvements that were identified in the 5 hearings that we held with our study committee that include adjusting timelines and deadlines, delivery methods for reports, arbitration panel issues, access to court reporters and hearing officers. We're allowing virtual and teleconference meetings. We're equally sharing arbitration costs. We're reporting of arbitration and agreement results, and we're extending the binding timeline for panel-imposed commissions from 1 year to 2 years. The substitute that this committee is bringing forth today also adds a Section 3, which applies only to the 60% method and allows for some additional communication, some notification of property owners, all property owners, in an annexed parcel that falls under the 60% method. And that is an acceptable substitute to the bill, and it's agreeable to both myself and to ACCG and GMA.
And that last Section 3, that's Senator Rhett's bill that we passed out of this committee earlier this year. I think it didn't get to the floor, but I know I appreciate you working with him to put that in Section 3 of this bill. First, any questions for the author from the committee? Senator Hatchett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank Representative for your leadership on this and organizing that subcommittee and the work that you put in. I know you and I discussed this at length while you were going through the committee process, and I just wanted to bring to the committee's attention that I've actually gotten several calls from my local municipalities in support of this legislation. So I just wanted to thank you for your work on that, and look forward to supporting this bill.
Thank you. I appreciate your assistance.
I got those calls as well, Senator. Any other questions from the committee? All right, we have three folks signed up to speak on the bill. First is Mr. Todd Edwards again with ACCG, and he's bringing with him Mr. Van Stevens from, I'm assuming, the Hall County Board of Commissioners. Is that correct? That's correct. Come on up. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon once again. I'm Todd Edwards with ACCG, and with me is Van Stevens, one of the county attorney for Hall County, Georgia. We won't belabor the point other than to say that we've enjoyed thoroughly working with the House Study Committee on Annexation over the summer. Countless hours around the state. I think they had 5 or 6 meetings, also working with Representative Victor Anderson. It's a very thoughtful approach. This bill has not been amended, or this law, since 2007. We think this makes many beneficial changes. We urge your favorable support. Thanks for your time and consideration.
All right.
And I will say that I'm actually working on a couple of annexation cases right now. In fact, we had to have a special meeting last night to consider one. Some of the things the bill does as far as increasing the amount of time we have to work for the bill will be very helpful in trying to resolve the bills without going into the full dispute resolution process. It typically works out that when you receive notice of an annexation, that it's hard to get it on the agenda and get it dealt with in the 30 days, so this bill will help.
Are any questions for Mr. Edwards and Mr. Stevens? All right, thank you. And we have Tom Gale with GMA. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Tom Gale with the Georgia Municipal Association. This is one of those rare bills in which the sheep and the lion lay down together. And
which one are you, the sheep or the lion?
We'll tell you after the meeting.
Okay.
I might have to borrow the gavel. But GMA was very encouraged working with Chairman Anderson through the process that he described in the House, the study committee that looked at making improvements. This is a consensus bill that's going to address timelines and encourage something that is really important to the success of communities. That's communication between county and city leaders. We can really resolve a lot of problems if the city and county governments talk through some of these proposed annexations by the property owners who are looking to come into cities to improve their value, or perhaps have a government that's in their minds closest to the people. So I'd urge your favorable consideration. I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions from the committee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. That's everyone that signed up to speak. What's the pleasure of the committee? We have a motion to pass by Senator Parent by committee substitute. Is there a second? Second by Senator Rep. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Carries unanimously. All right. Who's going to carry the bill?
Senator Hatchett.
Senator Hatchett. Got a lot of bills. All right, that concludes our business. I hope that Jesse Stone's not watching because we're not living up to the old reputation of this committee. We'll meet again on Thursday. So with that, we're adjourned.